Welcome to Forbidden Planet TV. I'm Andrew Sumner. I have a very special guest, and that very special guest is none other than V. Castro. How are you, mate?
I'm really great. How are you?
I am very well, thank you. It is always lovely to see you,
Thank
and
you.
you have had a
Same.
very interesting week, right? A
Yes,
very interesting week filled with Rebel Moon goodness. Can you tell me about it, V?
absolutely. Netflix did an amazing job with the premiere of the second part of Rebel Moon, and I loved every second of it. Watching it over again, even though I've watched a few times, I've also watched the rated R version, which the books are based on, the rated R version. It was just a magical night, and meeting the cast, speaking to Zack and Deborah Snyder, you see the passion, you feel the energy, and I think that absolutely comes out in the film. And I hope the books too.
I'm sure there can be no doubt. You got to visit Forbidden Planet, our flagship store in London, and
Yes.
and hang out with Zach. And we've got and by the time this airs, we should have seen that. We should have seen that that we filmed. My good friend Phil Wallace filmed that visit and filmed yourself chatting with Zach and whatnot. But to just let's get into the book a bit. What's it been like working on the second of your two novels for Rebel Moon?
Yeah, so what was interesting about doing the Scargiver is I actually had the opportunity to do a little bit more world building and backstory than the first book. So you'll get background on Noble and where he comes from. Why is he so horrible, which we love secretly? He's like such a great villain. But what happened? Where did the turning point occur in his life? And also the Hawkshaws, these creatures that were really, the bounty hunters. Well, where are they from? What's their world? What's their story? So I was, really excited to write more about this. And just in general, open up a little more space with the lore, which I love doing. That's just something I really gravitate towards. So you'll get that in Scargiver. But again, both books are based on the rated R version, so lots of good stuff. And of course, a lot of spice.
Yeah, well, that's your specialty, isn't it? You know,
Yes.
that's the literary place where you live, V. Yeah.
Hmm. And
So
people love it.
yeah, no, absolutely right. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. What was it? What was the process like in terms of putting the Scargiver and its predecessor together? How long did it take you, and how much back and forth was there with with the Snyder team and with Zach himself?
Yeah, they tweaked the film off and on. Things were always changing and there were things that were completely different from the script. So I had the script, had to go from there, flesh it out. Then I was able to watch the films, flesh it out. Um, and just things that little details that they wanted to change. So it was quite a bit going back and forth, but not so much. So how long did it take me? I don't even remember how long it took me because I tried to just write it continually and just get it done, as in one big document and then split it up. Um, it was just easier to work that way as opposed to, of course we had to end up making two separate documents, but I just kind of went down the script and just did it in that order to make it easier for me. And then we could kind of go back and forth. But it was great. I mean, it was a great collaboration. And again, every time I write a book, I always learn something else. And I love the edit. I don't like the editing process, but I appreciate it so much because it does make you a better writer.
I know. I think that's a very good point. Who was your editor on this book?
Daquan. So he
Oh
really,
yeah, Daquan the
really
Titan. Yeah, he's
yes,
great.
yes. So really great. Um, and just a joy to work with. So it's again, these projects, you feel the passion, you feel the energy, and I think that helps it kind of make it a joy and not feel like work.
Yeah, I think that's very well said. When you were sat there in the early screening of the Scargiver in London last week, in fact, um, what was that feeling? It must be really quite overwhelming. It was something you've devoted a year of your life to working on, and I know you're at the premiere of part one, but to be there in that in that screening theatre, watching the movie unfold, what does that feel like for you?
It was a dream come true, really, because as a kid, I loved action films. I loved Star Wars. I loved horror films. I loved anything space. Um, and to be involved with it, to see how these films and these stories, well, storytelling in general has evolved, is so amazing. And to be a part of that, it's great. It's incredible. And to know that I can help others, give them advice, uh, just be an inspiration in some way when it comes to these kind of projects. And that's such a wonderful thing for me, because I think part of, kind of the experience on this planet is to be of service of in some way. So for me, yes, it's a great experience. I love it, but also um to be able to give that gift to other people and, talk about it and be a part of these things. It means more to me um than just having my name on, like, a big Netflix film. It's really beautiful thing for me, and I appreciate every second of it.
You know what? I really couldn't agree more about that. And we've talked about this in the past. That's something that's also very important
Mhm.
to myself, which is the concept of, what you contribute to the society you're part of, what you
Yeah.
contribute to your fellow human beings. Something, again, we've talked about quite a bit is, do you want to talk a bit about your relationship with the Latin community that you're from, and your literary connection to your background?
Yeah, so I'm Mexican American, and, again, I grew up kind of watching Aliens, and I've watched Conan and Red Sonja and all of these great Star Wars. And but there really weren't very many Latino characters or Latinas, and I that's why, I had the great privilege to write Aliens Vasquez, because Vasquez is such an iconic Latina character, but the actress was not Latina herself, but none of us cared. We're like,
Yeah,
yeah, she's part of the community. She's Chicana, which is another word for Mexican American woman, Chicana, Chicano, male.
yeah.
Um, and again, like as I just said, to be part of these big projects, it's not just, to have my name, but also say, you know what, there are all of these beautiful things, all of these opportunities, writing great, huge space operas, um, being in different, you know, types of media. Everyone can do this. It should be for everyone. And if you have questions, if you want to know how to do it, I am always available. And for, younger writers wanting to know how to break in, to give them some of that um, knowledge. Because again, when I grew up, I didn't really, there wasn't, there were only a handful of Latinas writing, right? There was not much in the way of filmmaking, writing, comics, and now there's so much more. And I wrote one of my short stories was adapted into a comic with Chispa Comics, which is a Latinx imprint from Scout. I mean, that's completely new and that's amazing. So it's great to kind of be there to help others in the community who are interested in that.
Well said. Very, very well said. And the conversation that we've just been having, um, the Rebel Moon, the Scargiver novelization, is available from the links attached to our conversation, as is the novelization of part one, which is the title of is A Child of
Bye.
Fire. That's right. Yeah, quite right too. And also the incredible novel Alien Vasquez, which you also mentioned. There right there. Alien Vasquez also available from the links attached to this conversation.
Absolutely.
And
Grab
thanks
both.
so much for sharing your experience with Rebel Moon and
Thank
being
you.
such a key member of the entire Rebel Moon project. Um, what I'd like, if you're up for this, V, if you could come back and join me in the near future, and we'll talk about your new Titan Books novel, Immortal Pleasures.
Absolutely. I love talking books, so you do not have to twist my arm.
I will very much look forward to seeing you then. You take care
All
of
right.
yourself.
Thank you. Thank you,
Take care.
guys. Bye.
Bye-bye. If you're enjoying watching Forbidden Planet TV and you're enjoying watching us talk to the world's most interesting and accomplished filmmakers, authors, artists, musicians, creators, subscribe right here. See you soon.